Hi guys, what's up? It's me, Dallas Christopher. I'm here with Private Label Extensions, and we are live today with the Daily Dish with Dallas. I keep saying the Daily Dish because obviously it's daily, but today we're going to talk about color. I know you saw it on the opening, and we're going to talk about color and how important it is to understand color and why we would be using it. So we're having an open dialogue. You guys are going to have some conversations, some questions. I'm going to answer some questions with you, but I just want to share with you, and I hope you can hear me. We had some technical difficulties before. It's okay. We got them together today. So I know you can hear me because I tested, he tested. We know we're great. But we're going to just dive into it. And so when we speak about hair coloring, when we speak about that, it's very important that you as a hairstylist and or you as a consumer should understand hair coloring. And so even though I do all these great things, great things. Now, even though I do all these things with private label extension, everything that I do out in the industry as a hairstylist, at the end of the day, I'm still a teacher. And so I do have my Milady book out. I take notes. I'm old fashioned when it comes to that educational piece about it. And so we're just going to dive deep into it. And we're on chapter 21, and I'm not getting ready to give you a lesson, but I actually am. So pay attention. All right, so hair coloring. There are a couple of things that we talked about in hair coloring. First thing is hair coloring services provide stylists and clients with an opportunity to be creative in expression and artistry. And so understanding hair coloring, you can be creative. You can create something like I created over here with this lovely young lady. Here, being creative and adding highlights, lowlights, whatever, accent pieces, you name it. So learning and understanding hair coloring, that's one aspect. The second aspect that I want to go to, clients, customers today increasingly ask for and require excellent hair coloring services to cover gray, to enhance their haircuts, or to camouflage face shape imperfections. Let's go to the gray coverage. A lot of people don't like gray. They want it covered, whether it's 2-3 gray strands or whether it's 25, 10%, 90%. Some want it. They want, oh, give it to me, give me my gray. And others generally don't. So you need to have an understanding of gray coverage so that you can cover that for your customer or your client. The other thing was for a haircut, you want to accentuate your haircut. Maybe you have a short, graduated bob or a, male's kind of short square haircut that's giving you a lot of lift and length in the top and short in the back, or giving you a triangular graduation and you really want to show and push light to the face. That's an opportunity for you to use color with your haircut. The third thing is to camouflage face imperfections. Now, for me, I have a huge nose, okay? And so you want to use color to either recede or, make something wider or bring it closer. So you can have a focal point of you're not looking directly at my big nose, you're looking at like a full facial, or your highlights draw your eyes away to make sure that your eyes are widespread or wide set, or if your eyes are closed set. So there's some pieces in your Milady book that really talks about that. But understanding why people color their hair, again, going into it, it talks about covering up gray, enhancing your existing color, create fashion statements, correct unwanted tones in someone's heads, and to accentuate a particular haircut are the main things. But I want to get into understanding color because there's a whole piece that we're missing here. And I kind of took some notes down that we want to talk about coloring and or highlighting. And the first thing I want to talk about is bleaching, lightening, highlighting. And so let me tell you about this first point that I want to push out with you. Bleaching agents are hard on strands of hair. If I can't say that and stress that any further, they are hard on strands of hair. They can make your hair dry, brittle, frizzy looking, and prone to breakage. Again, we're talking about bleaching, talking about lightening or lighteners. And you guys see me do some lighteners. I did one here where we did lighteners. What does lighteners do? Here's that question. What does it do? And so if you can relate to understand what it does to the hair strand, maybe you'll approach it differently. So a hair lightener breaks apart the pigment in your hair so that light is reflected through it and the color looks blonde. Did you catch that? It breaks apart that pigment in your hair so that when light shines through it, or when it comes through it, through that cortex, um, it appears blonde for you. And so realistically, let's just look at it realistically. And I know you got some questions, so I'm going to go to them in just a second. I'm going to take a look at those questions. Anyone looking to dramatically lighten dark hair is going to need some kind of bleaching product. So if you're looking at a level 1 or level 2 and you're trying to lighten that hair, if you're going anything above 2, 3 levels of hair, possibly 4, and you're living there, you're going to need a bleaching, okay? And I know you're going, well, wait, you can use high lift. You can, and we'll talk about the high lift in just a second, where you're using it with color. We'll talk about that, and that's when you start using volumes in there. But when you're trying to really bring up and see a lot of light, you're going to have to bleach that hair. And so you have to keep in mind of what's happening to that hair strand and understand that you are causing the hair to be drier, to be brittle, to be prone to break off. And so some of the things that you want to think about is, what do you need to do to stop that, to heal that? And so what are some of the things you need to do? We're talking about conditioning. We're talking about putting back into the hair what you've taken out. You're talking about doing moisturizing mask, hydration mask, to make sure that that hair is put back into place. You're talking about using shampoos and conditioners that are building up those bonds back in that hair and sealing them for you. And so you have to think about that in the perspective of any hair. When you're using it on lightening your wigs or lightening your bundles, you still have to keep that in mind, that you have to prepare that hair. You have to heal that hair, and you have to set that hair up for success so that when it goes into the customer's head, the client's head, that they're going to have the best success of having soft, beautiful, pretty hair. Too often I see people, when they highlight and bleach and lighten or whatever to the bundles or to the wigs, it starts to look dry and frizzy and brittle. And we want to get away from that. And so you need to really understand that this is why I'm touching on this segment today and having this open conversation with you. So I believe I may have some comments that are in here. Let's look at them if you will. Oh, I don't. Y'all just looking and listening. That's what I'm talking about. I love it. Y'all paying attention. Stay paying attention on it. Well, let's jump into color. And so I wrote some pieces down with color. And so here it is. Hair color, dye. It's, some people would say, hey, I'm not against it. Again, can definitely dry out your hair, but it can also cause your hair to become brittle and break if you overdo it. If you overdo that chemical process, okay? To keep your hair from becoming too dry and breaking off, you should condition it regularly and use deep conditioning mask before and after coloring. Did you catch what I said? Coloring before and after. And a lot of people don't understand what that means. And yes, that means you can. If you're going to be coloring hair, you can shampoo and condition the hair because you're properly setting that hair up before you do a chemical process. Because hair color is still a chemical process. Just as a lightener is a chemical process, it's not as harsh as a lightener, but it's still a chemical process. You're looking at hydrogen peroxide. You're looking at ammonia. You're looking at that energy, that action that's happening, that it's causing that cuticle to lift and causing those molecules to get in, or pulling molecules out, lift and deposit, one or the other. It's still a drying agent. And so you want to make sure that you understand what you should do Shampoo and condition, mask, treat the hair first. So we call it pre-treat. And in Paul Mitchell, we call it that. We pre-treat the hair and set the hair first before we color the hair. Now, we do not shampoo before you lighten the hair. Let me say that again. We do not shampoo before lightening the hair. Okay? Okay. Because again, it's more drying. And so with it being more drying, I don't know what you may use for your shampoo and your conditioner. We just don't want to ever have that opportunity where you shampoo that hair and then start trying to lighten that hair at that point in time. Okay? But in coloring, there are some conditioning agents that are inside beeswax or some type of conditioning agent that's in it. And so it's a little bit more that's going to help buffer that action of the color. Okay. Now, you don't always have that in that bleach. So understand there's two different pieces that's there. All right. Cool. Now, a couple of things that I wanted to point out when we start talking about hydrogen peroxide. When we start talking about volumes, and we're not going to stay on this long, but I just wanted to make sure I cover a couple of pieces for you so that you can have a full understanding and learn what happens when you're doing this, when you're lightening and or coloring hair. So when you're coloring hair, looking at the volumes, volume 10 volume, and there are 4 different ones, or there are 5 volumes, and there's some other volumes in it, but the main ones I'm going to talk about is 10 volume, 20 volume, 30 volume, and 40 volume. And so when you're looking at 10 volume, this is to deposit color. It is to deposit color. When less lift is desired, it enhances the client's natural hair color. And so when you're using a 10 volume, you want to enhance, not really necessarily change, but enhance that hair color. So if she's at a level 4, you're using that 10 to kind of va-va-voom that level 4, if you will. Okay? That's what using level 10. Remember, the main thing is it deposits color. So it's always definitely, in my case, used when I'm trying to do a toner. I may use a 10 or I may use a 5 volume at that point. There are some other options that you can use as well, but if I really want it to stick and stay, I'm definitely going to use that 10 volume at that point. Also, depending on what I've done to the hair, if the hair's integrity is not ready to support that, I may drop my volume down. Moving to the next one is 20. It is the standard, okay? It is the standard. The standard up to 2 levels of lift used to achieve most results with permanent hair color. And it is used to completely cover gray, okay? That is your option that you use. When you start looking for gray, it's always best to go for your 20 volume there, okay? It's just, that's where it lives. It is the standard that you're using in your hair color. 2 levels of lift. The next, as we go up, 30 volume, we're looking at more energy, okay? More energy to be used and more chemical reaction that's needed to make some things happen. For additional lift, up to 3 levels of lift with permanent hair color is when you will use the 30 volume. The 30 volume, and again, we're talking about hair color, is that it's giving me a little bit more to get that lift up. Now, the standard is 2 levels, but 30 is going to give me 3. And then we move to 4 levels of lift, which is 40 volume. And you're going to get 4 levels of lift when you're using this with color. You also would use this 40 volume when you're using your high lift color series. And so, as I was saying a little bit earlier, if you can remember, using color, using 40 volume can get you those higher lifts, but you have to use more energy, which is at 40 volume, into those high lift series. Those high lift series generally have a little bit more, not a little bit, a lot more ammonia to really get in and just kind of get that hair to start going up and lifting up in higher levels without bleaching the hair. But keep in mind is that color, the rule is color doesn't lift color, okay? So if you are working with someone with virgin hair that has not been colored, meaning as if you have bundles of wigs that has not been colored, you can do some lift without lightening it with bleach by using high lift color. Catch that? Gotcha. You can do some lift without bleaching it using high lift color. So you're still going to have that chemical reaction, but it's not going to be as drying as the bleaching action will be. But if you're trying to get 9 levels of lift, okay, you're going to need to move to your bleach at that point in time. So basically, I'm just sharing with you today to make sure you understand that anytime looking at our Milady book, looking at our notes, looking at our knowledge of working with it and working with what's going to happen to that hair shaft, because there's 3 components of the hair shaft. It's the cuticle, the cortex, and the medulla. The main thing that's going to be working when you're dealing with color or lightener, you're dealing with that cuticle and you're dealing with that cortex. Okay, getting that cuticle up and getting that energy to happen inside that cortex. And so you have to understand that and make your customer, your client understand that anytime you're reaching for color and or lightener, there is an opportunity where you are drying the hair. It is going to be brittle. So if a client tells you, oh, it just doesn't feel, the same. No, it's not. Because you just used a chemical on the hair, on the weave, on the extensions, on the wig to change it. And so you're going to have to give it some more love. You're going to have that conversation with them and say, hey, I'm going to need you to do some deep conditioning at home as well as I'm going to do some here in the salon. All right? That's just keeping that client understanding what to do and making sure that they are completely aware that a chemical process has happened on this hair. And as a chemical process happens, it's going to be drier. It's going to be a little bit more frizzier. It's going to be a little bit more brittle, a little bit more fragile, easier to break. You're going to have to take a little bit more precaution when you're using hot irons on it. You're going to have to use a heat protectant to put on it to make sure you protect it before you dry it out even more. So these are the conversations that you want to have with your guests. Now, let's go to the questions because y'all got some questions over here. Let me look at them. Hold on. Let me look at them. Comments. Does the volume number refer to the lift level or how fast the hair will lift? Good question. So the volume level, when you're looking at it, again, as I explained it, some people would say, oh, well, it's the amount of energy, how many levels of lift. I would say don't look at it that way. We do explain it that way by saying 10 is going to deposit, 20 is going to lift and deposit, 30 is going to lift up to 3 levels, and 40 is going to lift up to 4 levels. We do say that, okay? But as you see, when you get into 40, if you are into 40 and it's up to 4 levels and you're using a high lift on a level 1 or 2, you may get that high lift up to about a 6, 7, okay? Might get it up to an 8. And you could use double 40 and get it even higher without tonal value. What that means is you lost the control of tone. It's just gonna go up. And then whatever tone you're gonna get is what you're gonna have to fight to get out. Okay. So just as I said, keep in mind using a level 10, you're only going to deposit. So that level is just gonna take that molecule and get it inside the hair shaft. When you get to 20, it's going to lift and deposit. Okay. When you get to 30, it's going to lift and lift and lift. I hope I'm giving you a good analogy. And when it gets to that 40, it's going to go lift and lift and lift and lift. And you might have some energy to do some more. I like that. That was a good dance. Okay. All right. Any other questions that you guys have so far? Because again, this is just an open dialogue where we're having a conversation about what color and lightener does to the hair shaft, does to the hair strand, and how does it affect your wig coloring? How does it affect your bundle coloring? How does it affect your, end result when you're finished at the end of the day with the customer? Is she gonna grab her hair and feel it and go, oh, it feels a little dry, feels a little tumbleweedish, or is she gonna feel it after you've done a complete moisturizing mask, hydration mask, put it on it, and she goes, oh, it feels like silk. I know that you lighten it, but it feels still so amazing. Okay? You have to know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how to heal it. And that's what we're talking about today. So I think I've covered a lot of things. I got another question. Simone say, Simone, you were on here the other day and you was asking some questions also. Girl, you love to ask some good questions, okay? You do. You said, what about 50 volume? There's a 50 volume that's out there. Okay? There's a 50. There's a 100 volume that's out there. In our industry, how do I say this? In our industry, being safe is 40 volume and down. How about that? 40 volume and that's safe. Safe as in, yes, we have an understanding that across the board, these are the results that we're going to get, that we've seen, that's proven that these work. Safe 40 and below. When we start reaching into those volumes like 50, when I've seen them in there, do I recommend it? I don't. Get to your lightener safely, okay? Get to it safely. Get to the level you need. When I say lightener, get to the desired level that you need safely. You don't have to run to it. You can walk, you can jog, you can slide to it, but you don't have to drive a Ferrari, to get what you need, okay? You still can get it. So I always say with that 50 volume, be cautious to, how you're using it. All right, I hope they answer your question. Moving on. Somebody say, them cuticles gonna pop off back. I mean, where is the lie? Okay? I mean, it's just, you just have to be careful. And that's why I say when I'm explaining that to the customer, when I'm explaining that to my consumer, because some clients just do not know. I've had clients in this industry, I won't say some names, have rolled up on me and said, hey, Dal, how you doing, babe? I got 60 inches of bundles. I got 3 of them. I'm going to wear them tomorrow. I need you to go ahead and put them on. Like, can you get this colored? I'll be back in an hour. What the hell? You're going to be back in an hour? Girl, first and foremost. I mean, these are people who are, I'm not calling out names, okay? But these are people that other people know from television or whatever. But I'm like, girl, we can't do that in an hour, okay? Because she didn't know. And so I had to have that conversation with her to the side and say, now, ma'am, we're not going to put this in your head and destroy these bundles that you just got in a matter of minutes because you need it in an hour. No, we're going to take some time. So yeah, just, enough of that. Just remember, you just have to understand that it's still hair, and be that it's still hair. You want to give it as much love as you possibly can and reach those end results the best way you can. Okay? Safely. Okay? Couple of more questions that's here. Got it. Simone said, okay, I got it. Thanks, babe. Wonderful. Good. And I love that you guys are asking questions and jumping in with the questions. I love that. I need to hear that, because this is the purpose of us having these, conversations, so that you know what to do when it comes to lightening hair, when it comes to coloring hair. And we get a lot of, consumers who happen to use some things and they're like, oh, it did this, it did that, the hair did this, and so it's like asking the questions, well, what did you use? Okay. And so to make those pieces put together in everyone's head is that you still have to treat this as if it was hair, because guess what? It's hair, right? So because it's not on someone's head, It's not on that client's head. Throwing 40 volume and doing a lightener and not being able to watch it, you're going to throw it here to the side. You're going to go do this client and you're going to put it just on this wig and put it in the sink. No. Even when I lightened Fizzgal back here, and I did tell you I was going to use 40, I stood there with it. This is why I kept coming back to you guys, because I stood there with it. I didn't want to just have a session. I made sure that I watched it step by step by step. And if I was getting a bad reaction, I know I can take it out at that time. Okay? So just keep that in mind. It's still hair. All right? All right, I think that we have got this point across to you guys, what color does, what lightener does. I think that we have answered those particular questions, and I will return back with those, answers. And this is going to be recorded. It has been recorded. This will be on the page. You can continue to go back to it and revisit it. If there are some things you may need to get some answers on, it's there. But if you need to ask questions, I will monitor it as well, and I will jump in and answer those questions. If not, if I didn't answer them quickly, I know Mikey jumps right on, love him to death, jumps right on and go, gotcha. Dallas is probably going to be able to answer it. He tags me with that answer, with that question, and I jump on and answer those questions for you. So I hope this opened up your vision a little bit more. And if you have any questions whatsoever, please, by all means, reach out to me. You do know my Facebook handle, Dallas Christopher, and you also do know my Instagram, Dallas Christopher Hair, or you can just reach us in the room and talk to us about it there. Outside of that, guys, thank you so much. This is our hair coloring lesson today. All right. Have a good one. Bye.